What's going on, guys? In this video, I want to go over scales and chord degrees, and I'll simplify music theory for you to understand it easily. I believe that if you get this video, you pretty much understand 90% of music theory. Everything else is just technical language that you don't really need to make good music. Now, scales. In simple terms, a scale is a combination of notes that sound good together. There's the major scale and then there's the minor scale. If you use this system, the major scale sounds really happy, kind of like very popish. All right, it's used a lot in pop music. The minor scale sounds more emotional, sad, melancholic, and even hard. You know, it's used a lot in hip hop, rap, trap. Honestly, in modern music, it's probably used 90% of the time. So if you're in the piano roll in FL Studio, you can go in the options and view scale highlighting, and we're gonna highlight the scale. Okay, so you can right click on minor natural. This is the minor scale we're gonna be working in this video, and you see how the notes in the back, they all changed. Now the scale is highlighted and the root note of the scale is C. So this is the combination of notes that create the minor scale, the minor natural. So let's listen to this. And it goes back to 1. So all of these, they're all the degrees of the minor natural. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. It goes back to 1 because the minor natural scale has 7 notes, 7 degrees. If you think about this as the solar system, C is the sun, and all the other notes are like the planets that gravitate towards the sun. All right, so C has the most pull in the scale, and you always want to come back to it with the other notes. So when I say a progression of 1, 4, 5, I mean 1, 4, 5, 1. You know, it goes back to 1. When I say 1, 6, 7, I mean 1, 6, 7, 1, or 1, 6, 5, 1. All right, so pretty much all these numbers that you hear people say, that's what they're talking about using this system. I'm going to get rid of the last one here. And on each one of these degrees, you can create chords. All right, so the way you do this, we're going to create triads at first. All right, you skip the second. This is the first. You skip the second. You click it on the third. You skip the fourth, and you click it on the fifth. All right, and we're just going to go in the highlighted parts of the scale. And you get this. You get a triad, a minor triad. Okay, and we can do this on all of these degrees. So let's do this. I'm gonna do this like that. You just skip the second. So basically there's like the scale degrees, and then there's also the chord degrees. All right, on each chord you have the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. You know, each of these chords, they have these degrees as well. So it can get a bit complicated, but this is what it sounds like with triads on each of the scale degrees. Okay, so just to give you an idea, again, a chord progression, a 1, 4, 5 chord progression in the minor natural is going to sound like this. 1. Okay, 1, 4, 5, and it goes back to 1. All right, a 1, 6, 5 progression is going to sound like this. All right, and then you can create a bunch of combinations and create chord progressions like this. You know, right now we created triads, but you can even go a step further and create complex chords, and you can keep going. You skip the 6, you place it on the 7th, and you created a 7 chord. All right, you skip the 8, you place it on the 9th, you're creating a 9th chord. Okay, you can create 11, and it starts to get really crowded, and then you can also do 13s. And then the 15, you're pretty much going back to C. All right, so there's no such thing as 15, I guess. All right, but I like 9s. You can take away this. There are variations of the minor natural scale. So there's a bunch of scales out there, okay? And a lot of them sound exotic. They each give you a different character when you create melodies and progressions. If I take this, I'm gonna put it here. I'm going to show you a couple variations of scales. And just to show you what they sound like. All right, so right now we have the minor natural that's here. If you go in your view scale highlighting, let's explore the harmonic minor. The minor harmonic, okay, right here. So you see it changed a bit, all right? So let's take this one here and let's figure out where it changed. So it changed right here. The 7 degree got raised. All right, so we're gonna put this up and let's see how it sounds. All right, so you see there's a different feeling here. It gets a bit darker because of the semitone differences here. All right, now let's explore the Phrygian scale. So if you go here, scale highlighting, and you just create on Phrygian. So the 2nd degree of the scale became flat. It went down 1 semitone. Now let's see this here too. So let's see how it sounds. All right, this too, it sounds a bit different. For the last scale, I'm gonna pick another one that I like. It's the Dorian. Let's go here. And you see the scale, where did it change? Right here. So the Dorian, the 6th degree of the minor scale, got raised. All right, and this, everything is good. It's in scale. So let's listen to it. So you see it just gives you a different character. Now the cool thing about this is that you can mix these scales. When you create melodies, you can borrow notes from another scale. Okay, so you don't need to stay in this one scale. You can like mix these, you know, which is crazy about music, which is great. But you can see why the minor natural is called natural, because it just sounds good to us. If you want to create a 1-6-5 progression in the minor natural, you're going to pick the 1-6-5 right here, get rid of the rest. And then you can just have a nice quick progression. Let me just show you what it's going to sound like. All right, and you can invert the chords if you want. You can just select the note and command down. All right, so you can create all these progressions. I'm not going to do them for the other scales, but there's nice progressions that you can create using the other scales, okay, that I can get into on my next videos. There's other scales you can explore. There's the Locrian scale, which sounds very, very dark. It's the darkest scale. There's, you know, the Romanian. It sounds it's different and exotic. Also, if you want to create happy music, you can use the major Ionian. Mixolydian, Lydian scale is a popular one. You know, like music is infinite at this point. You can mix these scales. Personally, I wish I knew this when I was just starting out, scales and chord degrees, because it's so easy to create music that makes sense and sounds good to everyone. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions, and see you in the next video. Take care.